Hey everybody, this is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on SI and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider podcast. And it's time now for our continued series on 10 issues facing the Raiders heading into training camp. Today is number 5, and it's a big one. And it's one that I'm going to be able to give you a lot of supposition and example on because it is a very big issue facing this team. I have said to you before that part of the Raiders' success is going to be going back and fixing. Over the last 20 years, the only thing consistent with the Raiders has been inconsistency. And that's fine, that happens. But the problem is when you're a franchise who's been selling your fan base just win, baby, and all you've done is just be mediocre. There's a word where I'm from in the Midwest, a saying that goes, that dog don't hunt, and it doesn't work. And so you've got an enormity of Raider fans that have become apathetic and some almost to the point of an expectation of failure. I can't tell you the number of times I've seen people say, same old Raiders. But here's the problem, and it's a big problem, is that the last 20 years don't define the Raiders. And so today I want to talk to you about conundrum number 5, which is the past. Reconciling the past of who the Raiders are. Now, from their inception up until about 20 years ago, the Raiders stood for something. They stood for toughness. They stood for, a lot of people thought it was thuggery. A lot of people thought it was simply playing until the echo of the whistle. But the point is they stood for something. And what is that? Lombardi trophies. They won them. They were a tough franchise. When teams played the Raiders, even if they won, they knew it because they were so physical. But over the last 20 years, they have descended into mediocrity. Till where now, even over the 6 years that I've covered the team, anytime things start to go good, I'll literally have emails from fans that say things to me like, don't worry, we'll find a way to screw it up. Don't worry, it never works out for us. Now, I understand if you're a young fan and that's all that you've experienced and all that you've known. I get that. That's germane and relevant. But if you are anywhere over the age of 25, that's not the Raiders that you grew up with. And so as the Raiders move forward, they have to come to a reconciliation on their past. They need to put the last 20 years behind them and bring the previous decades back into who they are. See, the Raiders have to win their fan base back. Now, you may say, what are you talking about, Hondo? The Raiders are the biggest one of the biggest fan bases in pro football. And you're absolutely right, they are. But just because you have the fan base doesn't mean that they're with you. I'm going to give you a quick example of that. You may be married to someone, but it doesn't mean you have their heart. You may be married to someone, but it doesn't mean you're in covenant relationship. You may be married to someone, but it doesn't mean you have a healthy, wonderful, exciting relationship. And so when I say they have to win their fan base back, certainly not all of it, but a vast majority of it, Raider Nation has been amazing over these 20 years. I'm telling you, I can't tell you the number of road games I've gone to. Let's just look at last year. The Raiders go into Baltimore, and it wasn't a majority Raider crowd, but it was loud. And the Raiders somehow upset a team with Super Bowl potential. It tells you how good that team should have been. And I'm telling you, it was loud. When the Raiders were coming down the clock, the Raider Nation showed up. Everywhere I go, every road game, I can't tell you the number of Raider fans I meet, I take pictures with, I talk with. It is phenomenal. It is an enormous fan base. They show up. They buy the merchandise. They do all that you want them to do. So we're not talking about that. Remember, you can be married, but you don't have somebody's heart. And one of the biggest issues facing this team is Raider fans are going to show up, but the Raiders got to win their heart back. I've said this numerous times. The Raiders have, if not the best, a top 3 fan base in the National Football League. I have said, and I get a lot of negative comments and emails, if the Raiders win, they'll have home field advantage at Allegiant Stadium. They will. But I know numerous people. My wife and I are friends with a successful doctor in Vegas who sell their season tickets because the Raiders haven't given them anything warranted to cover the cost. So they've already paid back their PSL. And they're able to sell a couple of games to the bigger traveling teams. They make money on their tickets and then go to the rest. Okay, and when you talk to them, they love the Raiders. They love them. But they're like, listen, if they're not going to show up, I'm going to make money on them. They certainly haven't hesitated to make business decisions that affect me. So I'm not afraid to make a business decision that affects them. That's the point. Raiders have got to convince, and let me say this to you. I don't even believe it's a fan base that has to be sold you're a Super Bowl contender. They just have to be a fan base that's sold you're not going to have stupid coaching decisions, ignorant, lack of discipline mistakes, and other issues that are inexcusable. This is where so much hope was injected like a supercharged shot of Viagra to Raider Nation's soul when Antonio Pierce took over. The second half of 23, they didn't lose a game. Excuse me. They led the league in they did lose games, but they led the league in least penalties. They were disciplined. And Raider Nation bought in. And down that stretch, they didn't win every game. But the crowds were phenomenal. Why? Because they showed their fan base, pretend it's an episode of Dallas. And if you're young, you're not going to understand this. Go Google it. And the last 20 years didn't happen. Oh, by the way, we're going back. We're going back. There's that old song, I'm going back to Cali. Well, they're going back to the Cali mentality, the pre-20 years ago. And you saw just a glimpse of it in 23. But I'm going to tell you something. It's on the players. You know, it's not Pete Carroll's fault for the litany of coaching mistakes that have happened over the last 20 years. He hasn't thrown a pass. He hasn't missed a tackle. He hasn't had a turnover. Has not made a general manager's decision or an owner's decision. But he's got to live with it. He's got to live with it. It's the reality of the situation. I used to hate vegetables. I'm still not a huge fan, but I used to hate vegetables. I liked mushrooms, broccoli, and cauliflower. That's all I liked. Okay? And Shannon just kept prodding me. Hey, try these vegetables. Now, hey, you got any vegetables over there? I eat salad. I know that's hard to believe, and not because I'm fat. I am, but that's not the reason why I eat salad. I eat it because I actually like it. Okay? She prodded me. She showed me something that was it her fault that I hated vegetables prior to her? No. But it was the reality she had to live with. Okay? It's not Pete Carroll's fault. He's got to live with it. He's got to change the narrative. You can't just keep telling the fan base, well, we need you. Yeah. Well, the fan base says, we need you to show up. Give us a reason to cheer. Give us a reason to believe in you. Folks, that's not harsh. I live in Realville. I don't get the privilege of going out into a dream world. I live in Realville. And in Realville, it's simple. Give people a reason to cheer. Let me give you an example. If you have a dog, and every time you call that dog to come see you, you punch it in the face, that dog's not going to come to you. It's going to want nothing to do with you. Parents, if the only time you talk to your children is criticism, if you don't if you're not a loving parent, they're not going to want to be with you. They're not going to even desire your company. But when you are those things, you can discipline. You want to be a parent that when your kid screws up, it's not, oh crap, I don't want my parents to find out. It's, oh crap, I got to call my parents. You want your dog to run up to you, bring you your slippers. Mine eats mine, but that's another story. And for Raider Nation, all they're asking this team to do is live up to their moniker. Give me a hug and not expect I'm going to get stabbed and you're going to break my heart. I'm going to make this statement publicly, and I am not a Raider fan. My wife, all in. My son, all in. The other day, Dexter and Shannon and I are riding down the road, and right out of the blue, Dexter, Raiders. They are Raider fans. I'm not. So I can say this as an unbiased observer. All Raider Nation is just saying to this team, please give me something to believe in. They want to believe in this franchise. They want to believe they've turned the corner. When I talk about Mark Davis and my respect for him and his maturation as an owner, you should read all the emails I get. Hondo, I want to believe in Mark. And let me just tell you something. I will never betray private conversations I've had with Mark Davis. I wouldn't do that to him. It would not be fair. But I can tell you unequivocally, Mark knows to change the narrative, they have to win. He knows that. He's very aware of that. And by the way, he doesn't complain about it. Oh, these blankety blank fans. No, he agrees with you. I have met and spent time with a ton of NFL owners, tons of them. Shannon's been with me. I have never met, well, I want to think this through, making sure because I've met them all. I know of several that are very conscientious of the fans. I do not know of one as conscientious as Mark Davis. All you got to go do is go back to the COVID year when he said, if fans aren't allowed to watch my team, I'm not watching in person. That was a huge move on his part. But the reality is, this franchise has to win back the heart of its fans. They got to win it back. That's the key to getting Allegiant Stadium. I mean, my word, every time we go to Allegiant Southwest, aka SoFi, it's a huge Raider crowd. It's a majority Raider crowd. You want to have that at Allegiant? Don't tell me Raider Nation ain't showing up at Allegiant. You got to give them a reason. And again, it's not just Super Bowl only. This doctor that Shannon and I are friends with, I mentioned to you, they said to me, if I just felt like I could go into every game with a reasonable expectation of them being competitive and not shooting themselves in the rear, I wouldn't sell my tickets. I'm sorry. That's not fair. That's not unfair. It's not unfair. If you treat your children like dirt, abusive, dishonorable to them, and then you're old and dying and wondering where they're at, that's on you. Now, I am not saying that the Raiders organization has beaten you and done those type, but I'll tell you what they have done, consistently broke your heart with inconsistency. I believe with total purpose of heart, they've turned the corner. It doesn't matter what I think. The butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, and Hondo in $8 will get you a cup of water at Starbucks. They got to show it now. Put up or shut up time. That's where the Raiders are. One of the issues facing them in training camp, they got to change the narrative. And that narrative is the last 20 years of the past to get back to the previous decades. It's time for Raider football to freaking look like Raider football. Follow me on Threads and IG when you go to @HondoSR, when you go to X, formerly known as Twitter, @Hondo Carpenter, and as always, si.com/NFL/Raiders. We'll see you there, everybody. God bless you.